Hello again, and welcome to MLR Weekly as presented by Rugby Wrap-Up. Matt McCarthy in New York City, and we have a great show. We have Kimball Kjar, the co-founder and CEO of the Utah Warriors, John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning, and Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News. Rugby Wrap-Up's MLR Weekly brought to you by Sheehy Auto Stores. It's easy at Sheehy. The Pig and Whistle, New York City, the world's best rugby pub. And Lean and Limber, stretching your way to a healthier lifestyle. Let's get started with Rugby Morning's Coffee Break with John Fitzpatrick calling in from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. John, welcome back. How are you? You look excited.
Well, Matt, I'm a little concerned. Are you feeling okay? You look a little black and blue.
Yeah, that's the Blazers shirt combination. Yeah, I get it. Next.
Hey, how about MLRPA? That's the Players Union. They've announced a new Players Council. This is to help players transition into the league. But some big names here. Jason Dahm, Sam Gala, Max Schumacher, and Sydney Shoop.
Dooba-doop, shoop-a-doop, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, shoop. Okay, we could do this all day, and I'm sure people haven't tuned in to see two white guys imitating Salt and Pepper. Next.
Okay, let's move on. Matt, I'm sure you saw this report. How about the British and Irish Lions on their 2029 tour of New Zealand? Allegedly, they may stop over in the City of Sin, Las Vegas, potentially also an option for Los Angeles. What do you make of all this?
There'll be quite a bit of drinking if that indeed happens. And wow, if there's any rugby played, it will be in a very hungover state. Next.
All right, speaking of hungover, and this is not a good segue, but let's keep the wacky news going here for a second. There's a report about this new competition that could allegedly take place in the U.S. in 2026. Essentially, it's rugby's version of cricket's Indian Premier League. Now, Matt, hear me out on this. Some of these details are just a little wacky, okay? They want to contract 280 men's players, 140 women's players with salaries starting as high as $900,000. Come on, Matt. Like, what are the odds of this happening?
It's a clickbait thing, right? Who knows, right? But, it makes you think. It makes you hopeful. And, hey, whoa, big money in rugby? Yeah, sign me up. Let me drink the Kool-Aid. Let's wait and see. Next.
I agree with you on that one, Matt. Hey, this weekend, Men's Eagles back in action. They start their 3-match November tour. They're going to be in Lisbon to take on Portugal. Matt, we got our boy A.J. McGinty back. Probably putting on the 10 jersey. But, Matt, let's not forget recent history against Portugal, of course,
What do you mean probably putting on the 10 jersey? What, are they going to line them up at 2 this week?
Hey, man, hey, Scott Lawrence thinking outside the box. Why not throw him in at hooker?
I think it's a good bet that he's going to be at the number 10 position. Yes, astute observation by my esteemed colleague. But I interrupted you. Continue.
No, I was just going to bring up recent history of Portugal 2023. Men's Eagles coming up pretty short against Portugal, 46-20. And then, of course, that draw in the repechage way back in November of 2022. Repechage. French? Is that Sean Connery doing it? Yeah. Anywho, Matt, give me your take.
We got to make the World Cup in 27, but again, I don't think we're that desperate right now that we have to win games. We have to improve and get cohesive.
Yeah, but at some point, results matter and W's matter. So when is that going to happen?
Soon. In the third segment with Bryan Ray. But in the meantime, continue.
Well, I was just going to say, and as you asked Bryan Ray in the next segment, who's going to win? Canada versus Chile. I'd love to hear his take on who's winning that one.
And on that note, I want to thank John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning for his coffee break segment. Thank you, John. Enjoy the rest of your visit in West Virginia with your cousins. We'll be right back after this.
Digs like a demented mole there.
Need a great price on a new vehicle? Sheehy makes it easy. Easy Price shows you our lowest prices on the Mid-Atlantic's largest selection. Find your best price online or at any of our 31 dealerships.
It's easy at Sheehy. Sheehy.com.
You need your cleats? You need them tomorrow? If you order today by 3 p.m. New York time or noon LA time, they can have them to you tomorrow. Young, old, male, female, if you're playing on turf, if you're playing on grass, if you're playing in the rain, you're playing in the heat, they've got you covered. RugbyNow.com. Go there now. And before we come back with Kimball Kjar, we caught up with Army head coach Matt Sherman after Army beat Air Force at West Point. So, Coach Matt Sherman, a couple of thoughts on tonight's game and on the season in general.
Tonight's game, credit to Air Force. I thought they fought back well and played hard, and so I give them credit on kind of tipping the scales back in their favor that second half. I thought for us, we had to test the depth of the team quite a bit, and I thought we had some really good passages where guys showed we were up for it, and we found the style we want to play, and got a lot of guys' experience. I think we'll take a lot of lessons out of this game too, that we can get better. Regards to the season, we've had a really good season. I really think we've only really had one bad day. It was a pretty bad one for us, but other than that, we've been really happy with our progression and our climb. But just one day at a time, getting better.
I think you had like 5 underclassmen in your pack, right? You only had like 3 seniors in that pack
really
tonight.
Young team today. I want to say probably 5 upperclassmen. The 15, maybe 6 or 7 in the whole 23. So young team. We're a young team overall. We've got a lot of young, exciting players. But they're quality, so it doesn't really matter how old they are.
And 3 of your players were in the sin bin tonight in the back line.
Yeah, that was part of our problem. We pride ourselves on playing a clean, vigilant game, and we weren't there tonight. I want to say 14 or 15 penalties, 3 yellow cards. That's not our model. Like I said, there's a lot of learning with this youth, and tonight I think we'll get a lot of lessons out of this.
Well, 43 points and 3 yellow cards, that's still pretty good.
Yeah, there were definite positives. I thought some really good individual performances. The first 20 minutes was really clean from us. That's the type of rugby we want to play. When we got away from that, we were pretty average.
All right, Coach, thanks for the time. Much appreciated.
Thanks, man.
And we are back, and we're happy to have the CEO/co-founder of the Utah Warriors, Mr. Kimball Kjar. Kimball, welcome back to MLR Weekly.
It's always great to be on, Matt.
All right, so, sir, you're out in Salt Lake City, or where are you right now?
Yeah, just south of Salt Lake. We're just in our new Warriors HQ office here in Draper. Brand new 15,000 square foot facility with on this side of the wall over here is a 10,000 square foot gym for the players and everyone else. And then up here is more or less 4,000 or 5,000 square feet for our staff. So it's a great little spot to be able to kind of call home.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations. It's that's a good sounding thing for the MLR.
Yeah, it's last year we were kind of vagabonds and having to put up in coffee shops and gyms and other places. We were neither out at the Real Salt Lake facility where we kind of done a lot of our trainings historically and everything else, but now to be able to have this space that we can call all our own has been nothing short of a game changer.
All right. Well, Kimball, you have been with the team since its inception. You just went through an offseason where you had a large clearing out of players. You're bringing in a bunch of players now. Is this a byproduct of just making some change because you haven't gotten over that hump yet, or is it more to give Greg Cooper or Coach Cooper a shot at coaching players that he might be more familiar with? Because the nature of the beast here is when you make a coaching change in this league, the coach that comes in inherits what the previous administration had.
Yeah, I think it's an amalgamation of all of that, right? I mean, it's never really one thing. Sometimes it's just time for people to part ways. Sometimes it's just age and retirement. Not all of the changes that we've made have been anticipated. But I think it's a combination of all of the above. I think the bottom line is that every team in the MLR is trying to raise the floor of the talent level, whether that's through domestic or international talent. I think everybody typically has the same strategy, is that, you've got X number of international slots that you have available to you, and you've really got to maximize those slots. Those players have to be, difference makers because you only have so many of those slots. But the same could be said just as easily for the domestic and the American, / Canadian players that you bring in. Those players have got to be, of the best variety and the best capabilities and everything else. So, listen, that's not trying to take, or discounting any of the players that we've let go. All of them are great human beings. They're great men that I have tons of respect for. I mean, we let go of 5 players that have been with us for a very long time. 276 caps was
Wow.
the number of those 5 players. So you don't just replace those people, willy-nilly, and backfill those positions overnight. So, it's really about trying to make sure that as a team, yes, we have the best possibility of, winning that MLR championship, but at the same time, increasing the capabilities of the organization overall.
When you mention international slots, there seems to be a little bit of a different philosophy between some teams in that they are putting Team USA, the Eagles, the national team first, or pretty close to first as a priority. And then there are other teams that say, okay, we're a professional team in a professional league. We just want to win. Where does the Utah Warrior franchise land on that?
Well, let me take a bit of a step back if I could, Matt, because, I think at the end of the day, it's worth noting that the MLR as a league is aligned and supportive of the international and the international partnership that we have with World Rugby and USA Rugby, as demonstrated through our partnership with Anthem Rugby Club. Right, we see an importance as a league that we provide as many opportunities to domestic players, domestic qualified players, in order to continue to help develop the Eagles and bring that along. So overall, the league, the board, the owners are supportive of that. I mean, that's part of the reason why we are, partners with World Rugby and USA Rugby in developing the Anthem construct. Now, inside of that being said, yeah, every team does have the opportunity. I think somebody said it this way. They said, we just want to have the equal opportunity to be unequal, right? And those are the rules and the guidelines that every team has. There are 10 international players. Some debate that is too much. Some debate that it's too little. But those are the current guidelines, and those are currently what World Rugby and USA Rugby are supportive of as well. So it's kind of noting that that's a part of the equation in how those discussions take place. But yeah, those are assets that could be traded for salary cap or for other players' rights, or so on and so forth. So some teams do end up taking more international slots to be able to fulfill the needs of what they think is going to help them be the most successful team and organization that they can be. And others take the other path. I know down in Anthem, they utilize very few of those international slots, and that's part of their MO. That's part of their charter. And that's kind of how they want to progress forward. Other teams are kind of doing a little bit different. Now, on our side, we believe that, there's certain positions that you're going to need to continue to try to fill and backfill with international talent. Some of those are kind of the key positions of scrum half, fly half, lock, maybe front rowers. There's just not tons and tons of American qualified, experienced players that can play at this level. So you tend to kind of lean in some of those positions directionally. But I would say that we kind of fall right in the middle, maybe to the right of the domestic qualified status, if I were to pin us down, as demonstrated recently by us signing 5 local domestic guys out of our Pro ID pathway. We also have brought in Sione Latu, that's coming back to us from Anthem. He's a Harriman, Utah native. So, we've brought 6 back into the fold that have Utah as sort of their connection and their roots, not to mention, guys like Paul Lasike, Saya Uhila. I'd even kind of qualify Angus McClellan now as Utah born and bred. That kid is more Utah than I think anything else at this stage. So we've got a very, very deep and passionate base that is built on Utah and our identity here. And that's something that we continue to want to build on and believe that we do believe it's a differentiator for us as a team and as an organization. We want to keep building on that.
Couple of things there. First off, you have the fortunate position where you have fans around you that know the game of rugby. There's a big Polynesian community out there. You named a bunch of the players, and that's a great thing. And you also have some of the best crowds in Major League Rugby history. Mm-hmm. Where do you see the team playing in 5 years, and what kind of crowds do you think you can expect?
So we dipped our toes in trying to do something similar to what San Diego's been doing recently of playing in a larger stadium, where they play out at Snapdragon, which I believe seats 35,000. We dipped our toe into playing at America First Field, which is the sister facility for the Zions Bank Stadium that we play at. That's 5,000 seats. America First Field is it's about 20,000 seats, and it's where Real Salt Lake plays. It's where the NWSL Utah Royals play. And we, for our part, even though we were, I think, 4-10 or 4-11 at the time, and we were playing LA in a, basically what it could be considered a throwaway game from like an importance level within the MLR. We still ended up with 10,915 people at that game, which set a record for the Warriors, and we missed the MLR record by about 500 or 600, I believe. I'm demanding a recount. I think you guys won. A recount of our game or the San Diego game?
San Diego. I'll say the same thing to Ryan Patterson when he's on the show. I'll say we'll have to get the Utah recount.
Yeah, but to make this financially sustainable long term, really where the MLR needs to get to is, as we look at it from a business perspective, you've got to have, just being completely transparent here, you have to have an average ticket price right around $25, and you've got to have an average attendance that's north of 10,000 people.
To break even, you think?
To get close to that break even, to get close to that, demonstrable, sustainable, and scalable business construct that, other investors and other partners and other teams are going to want to come on and be a part of.
Right.
We believe that that's probably 3 to 5 years away, depending on, how we go about our go-to-market plan and some of the other things that we're looking at. But I bring all that together by saying, we showed that we could actually have a game that had close to 11,000 people at the end of the season in a one-off experience that was effectively a throwaway game. So, for me, I'm looking at it saying, okay, if we can get this team moving in the right direction, again, our best marketing is always going to be winning, and we can do another one of those games, which is what we intend to do in 2025. We're going to do Warriors Fest 2.0. And have it near the end of the season. We're actually going to be doing it in collaboration with the NAI 15s guys, Mike Kressler and that group. So, we're basically going to have this big, massive celebration of rugby in North America in and around that last weekend of May, and hope to, our goal would be to get north of 15,000 people, if not sell out the 20,000 seat stadium. So, our goal long-term is to be, when we get into 2030 and 2031, we want to have 10,000 plus, if not 15,000 people plus coming to America First Field in Sandy, Utah. And we want to have fundamentally outgrown Zions Bank Stadium. I mean, that's really the goal, if I'm just being honest.
That's cool. You mentioned partnerships. Any synergy between the MLR and Super Rugby Americas? Maybe a championship match.
How nice would that be? Like I said, any all ideas thrown on the table can come from all different angles and sources. I'm not aware of anything in terms of those conversations, but I'm not at the day-to-day coalface that Nick Benson is and some of the other executive committee folks are. So who knows if any of those conversations have been had. I do know that plenty of conversations are happening with World Rugby between the MLR. We've already launched 2 initiatives with those guys, with Imagine Rugby as well as Anthem. So we've demonstrated a willingness to partner with the international governing bodies. But I know there's other added conversations ongoing with World Rugby to help grow and accelerate the plans ahead of 2031. So it should be some pretty exciting stuff on the horizon.
I want to go back to one last question on the financial end, and we're talking about a number of people to get to the point where it's break even or even a little bit better. Where would the cap be in that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I think we've got to kind of take a look at, if you take a step back, like we're after this 2025 season, and probably even before then, I know we're going to be beginning the collective bargaining agreement negotiation with the USA Rugby Players Association. And where that lands, how that impacts and influences, the future salary cap and benefits and, kind of the baseline standards of what players should expect and what the expenses for the teams ongoing are going to be. Who knows? I think to prognosticate anything outside of I really honestly don't know would be, I'd probably be overstepping my role and bounds. It's anybody's best guess if I'm being completely honest with you. But I would say that over time, that obviously I think you'd be foolish to say that some of these salary caps and expectations and the amounts of money that we can be paying players isn't going to increase over time.
It'll be interesting to see how it works itself out. I got one final question, because you guys do draw fans and you do have a good in-stadium experience. Will we see the Panther on the motorcycle again interrupting a match? Because I think it should be a regular occurrence.
He's been on the motorcycle, but I think the nice thing is that he learned his he definitely learned from that one experience of inadvertently getting in front of the kicker.
One of the best moments in the history of the league.
It's been almost 5 years since that incident, and we haven't stopped hearing about it. So maybe we just need to make it a little bit more of a fun experience for all the conversions that take place up at Zions Bank Stadium.
The Panther has to come up from behind the opposing kicker, right? Because the Panther would approach from the back and scare the daylights out of the kicker right before he kicks from coming from the back.
Yeah,
that's what I would.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's created a fan experience. We've been able to create a good fan experience for players and even opposing players. That they always come to our stadium and they go home saying, "Man, that's one of the best places to play," because of the knowledgeable fans, the excitement, the energy, and just the experience overall.
Well, I got to get out to a game this year because it's been too long. So anyway, thank you, Kimball. Much appreciated for your time and your transparency.
Easy. Thank you, Matt.
On that note, we're going to say goodbye to Mr. Kjar and come back with Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News after this.
I wouldn't like to be at the bottom of that.
Hey, U.S. fans, you can tune into every match live on Flow Rugby. How do we know that? Because we're on there all the time.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
This is the Rugby Odds, where an unlikely pundit panel of a wordsmith, a WWE legend, a rugby star, and a supermodel scour the globe, seeking best bets and bad behavior. Are you not entertained? And we're back with Mr. Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News to offer a Canadian perspective, a kinder, gentler perspective. Probably not, though. Bryan, welcome back to MLR Weekly, my friend.
Well, great to be here and sporting my Utah gear today since they went up in stock in the past couple weeks, of course, confirming a couple Canadian players, so they're back in my good books.
What's on the tip of your tongue? What's on the top of your mind?
Well, it's just, we're starting to see all the signings come out now. Obviously, a lot of these things have been done. I always try and anticipate when they're going to make these announcements. But here we are, and we've got a steady stream of them coming now. So it's interesting. All the pieces are starting to fall into place now. We're getting a better picture of what teams are going to be looking like in 2025.
Any significant signings that stand out for you?
I think certainly Chicago picking up Ollie Devoto and Tim Swiel direct from the Premiership is pretty interesting. And obviously, you look at that signing, Devoto in particular. I mean, he's had some injury struggles, but he's really, when he was coming up through with Bath and then later moved on to Exeter, very highly regarded in the England setup. It was just the injuries that kept him off the field. But if he's fit, that's a very high quality center. And Tim Swiel, he's playing for Saracens right now on a short-term deal until he jumps across. So he's a very capable player. So that's certainly a nice pickup for their back line. Obviously, the question is now what happens with Billy Meeks. I'm fairly certain he's not going to be back in Chicago, and where he's going to go, well, remains to be seen. Certainly some interesting moves up in Chicago. And love the Matt Awaru signing, by the way, from the Canada 7 side. I think he's got a big upside.
What do you make of the Perry Baker to the MLR story?
I think Perry deserves to be like an ambassador for somebody or an assistant coach. Why not for the Eagles men's side under Simon Amor? Or, he should be involved somewhere. If he wants to play on, then great, join an MLR team. But I think he's done his time, and he deserves to get paid to not beat himself up on a day-to-day basis.
Who's going to pay him? Where's he going? He's doing the flag rugby with Dallin Stanford and with some assistance from Steve Lewis. But if he can get another season, maybe make some money and maybe get some endorsements.
Yeah, but don't people pay people, decent money to be ambassadors for their brand or whatever these days? How is this guy top of the list?
Did you hit your head? This is rugby. You think people are getting paid to be ambassadors for their brand in rugby in the United States?
Get him on something, man. This is the best athlete. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here. This guy's the best American Sevens player. One of the best American players, period, forever. So,
who is the best American rugby player ever?
Well, if you hadn't forced me to pick someone now, I would say Dan Lyle. But I think there's room for debate there. But
what about Samuel Manoa?
Yeah, he's certainly in the conversation.
Final thoughts, Brian?
Well, it's nice to see MLR an actual league still moving ahead and forward. Saw some silly rumors, speaking of silly season, about some daft project coming to pay stupid amounts of money for players in 2026.
Oh, the IPL, the IPL thing. Yeah, Fitzpatrick and I hit on that. The South Africa, USA 2026 paying $800,000 or $900,000 a year to players. I'm like, okay, do you need broadcasters? You need entertainment? I'll help you with that.
How about we back the competition that's actually here and actually paying players? As we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you, kid. I'm with you. And just like that, Brian, we're out of time. I want to thank Mr. Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News. You got to check it out. Mr. Kimball Kjar, the CEO and co-founder of the Utah Warriors, Army head coach Matt Sherman, and John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning. And thank you for tuning in. Please check out our other shows, including the critically acclaimed and funny and entertaining The Rugby Odds. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Tell your friends about us. Sign up for our weekly newsletter. And please join our American Red Cross Blood Donor Team.